fam. You are listening to Life Beyond the Finish Line on the voice of NASA Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Warlandina Ballin, aka the Fitter Woman. On this episode, we're talking about transforming athletic grit into entrepreneurial success with my guest, Stephen Morse of Recruit You. So let's talk about your transition to the entrepreneurial space. So Recruit You, you founded Recruit You, and you've helped hundreds of student athletes find collegiate success. What inspired you to take the leap to start your own business? Because you're recruiting for other organizations. When did you decide, I can do this for myself?
Yeah, so it was when I moved down to Florida, I left the college game. And just to backtrack a little bit on my coaching background, so it kind of all lines up together. I began coaching at SUNY Brockport as a grad assistant there, and later became the recruiting coordinator there. I worked there for 2 years with that program. And then I got an opportunity to work at SUNY Ulster, which you spoke about before. And that opportunity that I had at SUNY Ulster, I was 23 years old when I accepted that head coaching position. At that time, I was probably the youngest head coach in the entire country. So it was an incredible opportunity for me, but it was an opportunity that I know it's not really granted to everybody. So I wanted to do the best that I could do there in terms of turning this program around. And it was a program that needed a lot of work. It was a program that simply just recruited in the local area there. They didn't have dorms. They didn't have meal plans. They didn't even have a home field. So it was an opportunity where, although it was a great opportunity for me as a young head coach, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. And I understood that the recruiting landscape at that school drastically needed to be changed. So then I was at SUNY Ulster for 5 years. And in my third year there, we had a really special year. We finished a game outside of the College World Series. But then I moved down to Tampa, Florida. So when I moved down to Tampa, I left the college game. When I left the college game, I had all these relationships and these networks of coaches from the time when I was working at the junior college, when I was trying to then push my guys onto four-year programs. So I thought, well, how could I still stay involved with college baseball? Because although I came down to Florida and I was still coaching at the high school level, I genuinely missed the college game. So I thought, how could I still stay involved with college baseball? And the idea was, then I'm going to start my own recruiting business where I could guide and advise players the exact same way that I did when I was at SUNY Ulster. And those guys would come to me and it was their sophomore year and they'd say, Coach, I'm graduating my associates this spring. What schools have interest in me? I want to continue playing at the four-year level. What opportunities you can get me? And that's where the whole process starts of working together with me with Recruit You, is simply from that spot moving forward. So that's kind of where the idea came from. It was something where I missed the game and then I still wanted to kind of stay involved.
I love that. And then you named it Recruit You?
So SUNY Ulster, SUNY Ulster we always referred to it as the U. So I thought, well, let's combine Recruit and You and put it all into one. And it's stuck now. Been about 5 years.
Oh, nice. And it's like playing homage. It's like a little homage to SUNY Ulster.
Right.
Describe the biggest challenges you face in launching Recruit You. How did you overcome them? And what challenges still remain?
Yeah, I would say the stigma behind, college recruiting agencies. I'm not the only recruiting agency out there. There's a lot of big and commercialized ones. And as you could imagine in that landscape, when it's a big commercialized business, there's sometimes issues that arise where sometimes clients go on and, for example, maybe a client's misled to get them to sign up, where the evaluator might be saying, hey, listen, you're a Division I prospect. In reality, it's a Division II or a Division III player. So then they work together and the player ends up getting, a Division III or a junior college offer and the family's unhappy. So because of that stigma that's behind recruiting agencies, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. Like players that I'll reach out to sometimes immediately just have no interest right off the bat just because of that stigma. Outside of that, I would say it's more just stuff on my end where, we have some guys that work for us here at Recruit You, but I'd love to bring some other guys in to help us and work for us and maybe expand to some other sports. And I had the same issue when I was at SUNY Ulster. If I'm really passionate about something, I almost consider it like it's my baby almost. And I care so much about it. And I probably need to do a better job in terms of letting go a little bit and trusting in other people that if I'm going to hire other people to work for us, letting them really go out there and kind of get their feet wet, like I was allowed to when I was at SUNY Brockport. One of the best mentors I ever had was Justin Beach when I was at SUNY Brockport. And that was simply because to learn how to become a recruiter, he simply let me go out there and kind of learn on my own. He kind of threw me in the trenches out there and he let me go in and truly understand and learn the recruiting landscape things worked out great sometimes, things didn't work out great sometimes, but that was my way of learning how to become a recruiter. And I probably need to do a better job of that in terms of bringing some more people on and allowing them to go out there and understanding every kid you bring on is not going to be, it's not going to be the, the guy that's going to go on to the Division I school, or it's not going to be, the guy that's a perfect fit here or there, but it's part of this process in terms of building a business. So that would be, I guess, another area to improve.
I think one of the things that stood out with me when during our last interview, you always said what I thought was unique. You just kept repeating that I make sure that whatever I find is a good fit for the player and the family. And you don't often hear that with recruits. You always hear recruiters talking about the athlete, the athlete, the athlete. You really made a point of saying the athlete and their family. Is that something that makes your recruiting agency stand apart from the others?
Yeah, I think the emphasis that I put on to making sure that it's a good fit for everybody involved is a huge part. But then the other thing that's, I think, a separator from us and other agencies is the honesty that you're going to receive from me. And I make that very, very clear before these parents are cutting a check to work with me. I get video on a player, I go and I see him out, I go and see him out live in a game. And when I talk to these parents about what the experience is going to be working together, I give my true, honest evaluation. My evaluations are not always correct, but from my experience as being, a college head coach and then a professional scout, I like to think that I have a pretty good idea in terms of looking at a player and understanding his metrics and his size and things like that, and being able to say, this player is probably a Division I player. This player is probably going to fit into a Division II, or this kid's going to be a division or junior college guy for a year or two, and then can maybe go and play at a Division I school. So when I talk with these parents and these families, I'm very straightforward. In terms of where I think they're a fit, what they need to improve on, and if we're going to work together, this is kind of what the process is going to look like. So that, and then, in terms of working with the families, again, I'll go back to SUNY Ulster. When I was at SUNY Ulster, something that separated me from the other junior colleges that I worked against, I did a lot of things like home visits, where I would go and I would go visit the player's home, and I would sit there with the player and his family, and I would explain the process at our school. I would then invite them all up to campus to come and spend time on campus, take them out for a meal and things like that. That stuff was important to me, because when you're working with these kids that are 16, 17 years old, you also want to show them that you genuinely care for them, and you want to, if a parent is going to be relying on you to assist with the college selection process, I think it's really, really important that they trust the person that's going to be in charge and guiding you. So I think that's why it's so important to kind of intermingle not only the player, but his family in the process as well.
I agree. Especially they are so young, because you don't think about it until you just said, they're 16, 17. I'm like, oh my goodness, these are kids.
So, these are kids, and these are kids that, I'm asking them things like, what do you want to major in? If you were to ask me at 15 years old what I wanted to do,
I didn't know.
It probably would have changed 4 or 5 times from 15 years from then. So you definitely want to have the family involved. You want to have the parents there, and you want to let the parents know that they have the freedom as well, to reach out to you every step of the way and utilize you as much as possible.
I think that's beautiful, because you don't see that too often. You've had many successes, right? As an athlete, as a recruiter, now as a business owner. What does success look to you? What does it look like to you now? And how has the definition evolved from your days as a player, and as a coach, and now a business owner? Because, the finish line has moved. So what does success look like to you now as before?
Yeah, in terms of, if I bring a client on and I was to say, what is a successful, outcome, that would be this player, like I mentioned earlier, us finding the perfect fit for him. And what that really means is, it means that the school has a good academic program that you're interested in. It's a good distance from home, where you're comfortable being away from your parents at this distance. And then on top of it, your baseball opportunity is going to be good. And what I mean by your baseball opportunity is going to be good, that doesn't mean that you're going to get a Division I scholarship. That means that you're going to get the opportunity to go to a school that has what you're looking for. Some guys simply want to throw a Division I jersey on. Other guys want to play every day as a freshman. Whatever the situation might be, if I'm working with you, the client, your situation, it's personalized. So if I have a client and at the end of the day, he's able to say, listen, I committed to a school that's a good baseball fit, good academic fit, and it's a good distance from home. Me and my family are really, really happy. Thank you for the efforts that you did in terms of guiding us. That's the ultimate success. That's simply what I'm looking for with every client. That's what we're striving
It
for
sounds like a
with every client
trifecta.
that we
Like you
work
hit
with.
that, you're like,
Thinking about the schools that we want to target, and I get a lot of kids, they immediately, I'll say, go spend some time, look at some colleges and send me a list of about 15 or 20 schools. Some kids will immediately, within a day, send me over the 10 best baseball schools in New York or in Florida. That's not what we're doing. I don't need to know what the best 10 or 15 baseball schools
already
are.
know what that is.
You know what I mean? I want you to take some time with this. Take 15 or 20, take 15 or 20 days or so with your family, and look at these colleges, research them online, look at the social life of the school, look at the area the school is, look at the distance from home, look at the majors. If you find schools that fit you in those criteria, put them onto a list. That's kind of where we'll start. So yeah, it's really, really important. It's a good fit, all in all.
And I like how you say, listen, I want you to look, but these are the things I want you to look for, because a lot of people don't think about that. These are the things that this is your list. I want you to check off these things because they see, like you said, these are the top schools. That's the only thing I'm looking at. But you're like, no, I want you to take it apart, take each school apart and see if that's a good fit for you. What unique, oh, well, I already asked you that. What unique edge do you have? And one of the things I said was the fact that you do include the family. And how does your recruiting model set yourselves apart from traditional recruiting models?
So I would say the personal touch that we put into it. I mentioned some of these bigger commercialized businesses that are similar to me, a few minutes ago. And with those businesses, you'll do things like, you'll sign up with them and you'll have a call time where you could, you set up a meeting to talk with them once every month or so, and they'll send you some schools and it'll work like that. What we do, it's 24/7 advisement. It truly is 24/7 advisement for the player and the family. They reach out anytime, and I never go more than about 13, 14 days at the most without talking to the guys that I'm working with. And at certain times of the year, I'm talking to them almost daily in terms of what I'm getting back from college coaching and things like that. But this, the reason why I say it's so personal is because we're spending quite a bit of time together. Usually when I bring guys on, it's typically around, the summer of their sophomore year or going into about the beginning of their junior year. So you got to think, depending on when the player commits, there's a chance you're spending, almost 12 to 16 months working together. So, you want to get to know each other. And it's important for me to really get to know the kids. That way I could learn a little bit about what I also think they're going to look for in a school, or where I think they're going to be comfortable or happy. I could have one conversation with a kid and just know this kid doesn't want to go more than 2 or 3 hours away from home without him even telling me, just even hearing the way that he interacts with his parents. And maybe that's because, that was kind of the boat that I was into. I was very comfortable with the relationship that I had at home, and being, I didn't want to go too far away from home. So I see these similarities or differences. I can kind of tell these from the interactions that I have with the players, and it makes my job, a little bit easier. But I would say, the personal touch, and then just, a little bit of my background as well. I've seen it now at multiple levels, Division I, Division II, Division III, junior college, and then, working at the professional level. So I genuinely do have a good idea of what these players are looking for, of what these coaches are looking for, I should say.
That's awesome. So you could see it on the side of the coach, from the perspective of the coach and the athlete and the schools and the families. So, it's like you got all these different lenses that you've learned to wear, and now you can see through. When we come back, I definitely want to talk about what does life look like now, finding balance, because you're a busy man.